Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Fine Gaming Connoisseur, and welcome back to this Let's Play of Mortal Online, the Second Era. Today watching episode 78, and today I want to continue with the new player progression guide that I started some time ago. And so today's episode is going to be about combat, and more specifically armor and weapons. And so today I'm up in the roof of one of the buildings in Tindrum again, because you know, I do want to find somewhere quiet, and and I do meet a number of people when I'm in town, people who have seen my videos, and so as you can see in the chat. So I guess I'll just start from the beginning for those players who are new to this game and don't know much about combat. So I guess I'll just begin by saying that the way combat works in this game is, I'm sure you will know that it's very different to a lot of the traditional MMORPGs like World of Warcraft. And I know that I use World of Warcraft quite often as a reference, but you know, World of Warcraft is a, you know, one of those games where the combat is not really based on player skill. It's more on you know, tap targeting, and more or less based on your character's level and, you know, the armor and the items that you have equipped. So you know, that's why I use World of Warcraft as a reference, because it's very much the antithesis of how combat works in Mortal Online. So in Mortal Online, the combat works much like a first-person shooter, and so that means that you have to aim, and you have to manually swing your weapon and block. But the only difference between this game and first-person shooters is that there are no guns. I think the closest thing that you'll get is, you know, spells or arrows. But so basically combat in this game is very much based on where you aim and how you strike your target. So, but before I go any further on combat, I want to just talk about armor, because I think you know, any player that wants to go into combat, they should invest in some sort of armor protection. So just let me bring up my paper doll. So as you can see right here, I have a full set of Genomic scale armor, and that is one of the types of armor sets that you can buy right here in Tindrum, or in any city that has a Genomic scale vendor, Genomic scale armor vendor. And so altogether this armor set costs about just a little over 1 gold. I think it goes for about, if I'm not mistaken, goes for about 1.5 gold. So it's not too expensive, but and you know, the other thing that I realized the other day was I had a look at, you know, Genomic armor, and okay, so let me yeah, so I don't have any crafting skills on this character, because this is not my crafter. But yeah, anyway, Genomic, you know, Genomic scale falls under, yeah, just I think it's a laminated armor. So this is considered one of the heavier types of armor, but of course the material that it is made out of does not make it very strong. But anyway, so the way armor works in this game, and I'll just talk a little bit about that, because it is rather important that you know this. So on your character you have all these hitboxes. So your hitboxes are divided into different parts of your body, like the head, the shoulders, your arms, your hands, and your legs, and your feet. And so they are all divided into, altogether there's 10 hitboxes. And when you're in combat, it's important to realize that if you leave any part of your body unprotected by armor, then there is that chance that someone can potentially swing their weapon and it will hit that part of your body, and if it's unprotected then it will receive full damage. Whereas if you're wearing armor, then the damage gets mitigated, and as you can see, there is 3 types of physical damage that you can do to your target, or you can receive damage from, and that is blunt, piercing, and slashing. So depending on the weapon and depending on the armor that you're wearing and the material that it's made out of, the damage mitigation will vary. So it's important that you go out into combat bearing in mind that you have 10 different hitboxes, and so some people like to go into combat wearing armor just in certain parts of the body, like maybe everything except the feet, because I think some people don't feel that they will be attacked that often, and so they probably don't bother to armor their feet. But personally for me, I prefer to go head to toe in full armor. And so it's important that you realize that you have different hitboxes, and so if you're a new player, do keep that in mind. And another thing that I also should bring across to you is, let me just get this. Okay, so as you can see here, there is carry weight and armor weight, and you have encumbrance here. Now, one thing that you need to realize, and I did mention this very earlier on when I started doing Let's Play Multiple Online videos, is that the way the weight is distributed in this game is that you have 2 separate weight stats. So your carry weight is all the things that you carry in your inventory, and so that is the stat for your weight. And so if you don't know this already, the first number here represents the weight that you're carrying, and the second number is the amount of weight that you can carry before you start to become encumbered, and the third number here is the maximum weight that you can carry. That's the maximum that you can take on. So you cannot take on any more than that. I think that's how it works. Yeah. So like I said before, when I first started doing this game guide, I don't claim to be like a total expert on everything. So there may be some things that I don't get correct. So do bear with me, and if you spot anything that I've made a mistake, then please do let me know in the comment section below. But generally speaking, I think that's how it works. Your 3 numbers here. Now, if you look at the armor weight down here, this is actually different to your carry weight. So it doesn't matter how much you can carry, how much you've got, for your carry weight. So let's say you're carrying all this armor on your character. It doesn't mean that you can wear the same amount of armor. Okay, so like in the carry weight, you have 3 numbers here. That's the first number is the amount of armor that you're wearing, and the second number is the maximum amount that you can wear before you become encumbered, and the third number is the maximum amount that you can have on your character. That's the total maximum. And if you notice down here, there is encumbrance as well. So that's the percentage of encumbrance that your character is experiencing when you're overloaded, and so that will basically cause you to suffer movement speed penalties, and also your stamina regeneration penalties as well. So I think it's a good idea to keep your encumbrance at 0% or as low as possible. And so bearing in mind that that if you want to wear like a full set of Genomic scale armor, then you'll need to invest in this skill right here, and I'll just show you what that is. I think it's in athletics. So this skill here, armor training, if you want to increase the amount of armor that you can carry, then you want to train in this skill right here, and it's a primary skill. And down here there is a heavy armor training, which is also a primary skill. So I'm guessing that this is reserved for those players who want to wear the absolute heaviest of all armors. I'm thinking along the lines of plate mail armor, plated, armor made out of the best materials, and heavy, and protection. The protection is maximum. I think that's the skill that a lot of players will want to get if they want to have wear armor beyond the limits allowed by the basic armor training skill. Okay, so hope that this is enough to cover the armor section. So now I'm going to move on to your weapons. And so as you know, you start out with the worn short sword, and this is a slashing weapon. Now in this game, like I mentioned, you can have blunt, piercing, or slashing damage types, and so generally speaking, there are the weapons. I think every weapon has a certain degree of blunt, piercing, and slashing damage, but at varying amounts. So let's say you're using a blade here. Let's just take my Genomic Longsword as an example. You'll see that because it's a blade, the slashing damage potential is much higher than, let's say, piercing. But piercing is sort of rather okay-ish. It's sort of in the middle because the sword is, I'm guessing it is pointed, so it can be used as a piercing weapon, and it does also have some blunt damage, but it's not very high. So depending on what type of damage that you want to dish out, you'll probably want to invest in different kinds of weapons. And so if you want to do more blunt damage, then you probably want to go with maces and clubs and hammers. And if you want to do piercing, then you probably want to invest in lances and spears. And I guess you want to just bear in mind that depending on the armor that your opponent is wearing, your weapon may deal varying amounts of damage, and the damage that is done to your opponent can be mitigated depending on the armor that they're wearing, and based on also your weapon skill and that sort of thing. And also you should also keep in mind that if you want to train in a certain type of weapon skill, if you want to use a certain type of weapon, then make sure that you invest in the right kind of weapon skill. So let's say if you want to use axes, then try to keep your axes skill high, and likewise if you want to use spears, then go with spears, and so on. So now I flagged my club skill to go down because I'm kind of running out of primary skill points. I only have 167 left, and so I'm going with swords because this is the weapon of choice for my character Tybers, and so it's really up to you. But that sort of means that every weapon and every armor has its advantages and disadvantages. So it's really, there's no sort of like no weapon is overpowered above the others, although some crafters might be able to craft exceedingly powerful weapons such that it'll do a lot of blunt, piercing, and slashing damage. So, but generally speaking, I think there is a balance there. So okay, I want to be left alone here for now because I am doing this episode, so I'm just sort of coming down here a bit. Hopefully that player doesn't come and push me off the roof. Yeah, I just want to be able to do this episode in relative, be left alone here. Okay, so like I said, combat in this game works by the directional aiming, and blocking, and I think you'll notice that in the if you go to your preferences, you'll see that there is, okay, let me see, control attack direction by mouse and control block direction by mouse. So these two options here, okay, I'm not sure why it's disabled. I'm thinking that it should be enabled on my character, but anyway, I'll just enable it. So what that means is that, in this game, you see the crosshair in the middle of my screen. That is where you will be aiming your weapon strikes, and also where you'll be blocking. And so it's important that you point at the location where you want to strike your target, and also, when you block, use your crosshairs. Now when you're in combat, bear in mind that it's when you attack a target, where you strike your target is a factor as well. So let's say, actually, I think I'll go to the graveyard. I think it's easy if I go to the graveyard to show you just what I mean. So let's just go to the graveyard, and I'll attack one of the skeletons.